Dear colleagues, good afternoon. We continue with our briefings, and the floor now is given to the spokesperson for the administration of President of Ukraine, Colonel Andriy Lysenko, who will speak about the situation in the ATO zone. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Within the past day, the situation in the ATO area was stable, yet tense and under control. Yesterday, our positions were shelled 10 times from 120mm mortars and 4 times from the tanks. Enemy APCs were involved, and terrorist snipers were found to strike 4 times in the area of Avdiivka, Pisky and Chesty. In spite of these provocations, our military servicemen keep the perimeter along the whole line of conflict and are ready to fight back. The most tense points and hotspots were the village of Shirokina in Mariupol direction, the area of Donetsk airport and suburbs of Khorlivka, particularly Mayorsk and Leninsk and Donetsk direction, and the town of Chesty, as well as village Sizy of Stanichno-Lugansky district in Lugansk direction. There were military clashes between our military servicemen with terrorists using small arms. Our military servicemen managed to repel the attacks. Throughout the past day, 1 Ukrainian serviceman perished and 1 was wounded. It happened yesterday in the area of Pesky village. According to the surveillance data, the Russian government offers amnesty for citizens serving their jail terms in Russian colonies and condition of them going to Donbass and joining their paramilitary bandit groupings in the DNR and LNR. Yesterday, a FUGAS installed by a diversion and reconnaissance group of the enemy had our vehicle, the vehicle of our border guards, blown, and 2 border guards were wounded. In absence of steady peace, armistice on the east of Ukraine, the OSCE is going to increase the number of its observers in Donbass. According to Lamberta Zanera, General Secretary of the organization, the number will be increased to more than 600 persons. Ukraine continues its military cooperation with its Western partners. Yesterday, military training called Phyllis Garden, involving the National Guard of Ukraine and military servicemen from 173rd Airborne Brigade from the United States started the exercise. Military servicemen carry out artillery training and tactical reconnaissance and information operations exercises. They cooperate with local population in the area of conflict. The program will include establishing protective structures, diffusing ordnance and tactical medicine courses. Besides our military servicemen, there will be 30 instructors involved who will then transfer experience from the US colleagues as trainers. The Americans have brought with themselves modern military equipment. Likewise, the military forces of Ukraine will get 705 complects of sets of military uniform, as well as vests, helmets, and other protective elements, 85 night vision devices, and more than 200 radio communication systems. The President of Ukraine held a phone conversation with Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden, to reflect on the exercises, and Joseph Biden notified Poroshenko that the United States are ready to provide credit guarantee facility to Ukraine in amount of $1 billion within the scope of its financial support in 2015. The American top government official also notified of U.S. readiness to finance projects to provide humanitarian assistance to IDPs suffering from the war on Donbass. Exercise of our artillery servicemen continue in Chernihiv area, where they try to use the Grad multiple rocket system. Ukrainian law enforcers received awards for the courage demonstrated in the ATO area. 12 members of Lviv Special Battalion received high state decorations. It happened in the Lviv State University of Internal Affairs. By decree of the President of Ukraine, Petro Poroshenko, the commander of Lviv Battalion, Militia Major Igor Volsky, has been awarded the Order for Courage of the 3rd grade for his courage displayed under protection of the state sovereignty of Ukraine. 11 more battalion members were decorated with courage signs. Ukraine continues its anti-terrorist measures. Local police in Selidova detained 2 residents of Donetsk region who were searched for their participation in the paramilitary rebel formations. One of them had automated small arms and rocket launcher Jmil, with which he protected the block post of rebels in the village of Karlivka. Also, the Security Service of Ukraine has detained an armed paramilitary member of Vostok formation in Dnipropetrovsk. He was to prepare a number of terrorist acts in Ukraine. He was a reconnaissance group member and sapper in a DNR military group, and while in Dnipropetrovsk he has to collect information about protective structures around the city and ways of securing important infrastructural objects inside the city. He was found to have 3 grenades and a pistol. Nearby Novomoskovsk, the law enforcers found a stash of armaments with 3 RPG launchers, 10 RGD-5 grenades, and an explosive device. They also detained a resident of Kharkiv who wanted to produce illegal license plates for cars ordered by pro-Russian rebels. 2 military servicemen of Ukraine had a car accident 2 kilometers from the town of Dmitrova, Donetsk Oblast. One of them was driving the passenger car, but he failed to manage the car, careened to the roadside and made it into the tree. Both of the injured are now treated in hospital. Humanitarian crisis has been is on increase on the occupied Donbass area. According to the information, teachers from Krasny Luch addressed leaders of paramilitary LNR forces requesting to have their wage debt repaid, threatening with strikes if the request is not met. The so-called Ministry for Fuel and Energy from the LNR readies itself to nationalize or effectively steal the petrol refueling stations on the occupied territory of Lugansk Oblast, to further transfer them under control of individuals connected to Russian fuel and energy business structures. More than 800 of local prisoners serving their term in a Makiivka correctional facility are making uniforms for rebels on a continuous basis. Rotation in the units of Ukrainian law enforcement agency continues. Members of the Special Battalion Mykolaiv returned home and were replaced with their colleagues. The battalion features both newbies and already seasoned members that have been more than once in the ATO area. Law enforcers from Khmelnytsk Oblast donated blood to their wounded colleagues. More than 20 local police unit departments donated their bloods with hopes that it will help to save lives of their wounded colleagues. Western partners also provide assistance to wounded protectors of Ukraine. A truck with humanitarian load from the United States entered the territory of Ukraine from Rava-Ruska border control checkpoint. The cargo has more than 4 tons of medicines and hygienic means for the chief clinical hospital of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine in Kiev. Now, a story about a Ukrainian hero officer. Meet Volodymyr Hrynyuk, only 28. He is probably the youngest hero of Ukraine. The infamous Motorola displayed a ransom on him in amount of $25,000. That's how he was appreciated by rebels for his heroism and his military efficiency. Interestingly, before joining the army, he was the teacher of dance, but after serving as conscript in the army, he decided to remain in the military forces, and he graduated from the Lviv Academy of Land Troops. He started his involvement in the anti-terrorist campaign last March, when his assault company took part in heavy clashes under Stepanivka, Savur-Mohyla, Lutugina, and Krasnaya Polyana. During the fight around Debaltseva in February this year, his company managed to eliminate more than 3 dozens of rebels and 3 units of armored vehicles. In spite of being wounded, Volodymyr Hrynyuk continued managing his company and evacuated it from under Debaltseva with minimum losses. Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. Thank you.